Iron Sword Operation War in Gaza. I wanted to share with everyone today what is the core of the war in Israel that is taking place these days right now. In order to do that, I want us to go and explore the following verses in Genesis chapter 15, verses 18 to 21. And verse 18 mentions the following: Bayom ha'u karat Hashem et Avraham berit le'emor, lezarecha natati et haaretz hazot min ha'ar Mitzrayim ad ha'nahar hagadol nahar Frat. And the English translation states the following: On that day the Lord formed a covenant with Abraham, saying, to your seed I have given this land, from the river of Egypt until the greater river, the Euphrates River. This is the first statement where it's clearly stated that the land of Israel is actually from the Nile up to the Euphrates River, which is in the area of Iran, as we're going to see it right now. As you can see here, the green area is the promised land of Hashem to the Jewish people. We will see a few other verses. I want to stress from here the importance for the future of humanity. As I mentioned in my previous video yesterday, this is not only a war in Israel, this is the expression of the future of humanity. The establishment of the Jewish people in the land of Israel is the technical aspect of the establishment of the soul within the body. In order to confer eternity to the body, the soul has to be completely settled in the body. The settlement of the Jewish people within the borders of the defined land by Hashem is the technical condition for humanity to enter into eternity. And as we see, and as we will see in a moment, there are other verses giving details onto this. The important is, of course, that each person reinforces clearly in where he lives that the Jewish people not only have to settle Gaza completely, as well as Judea and Samaria, as well as the Temple Mount, and reacquire the Temple Mount to establish the third temple for all nations. As it's written in Isaiah, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all nations. It is for all nations. We do not seek no hegemonic, no totalitarian control of anything. As it's written in the Rambam, we only seek redemption in order to be in peace and to be able to dwell in the study of Torah and to share with humanity the insight so each person can fulfill his potential. But everyone needs to understand and see and reinforce the fact that the Jewish people need to settle constantly, completely the land of Israel, as this is for the sake of all humanity. Let us look a little bit further. It's written further on verse 19, Et hakni, et haknizi, et hakadmoni, the Kenites, the Kenizzites, and the Kadmonites, three of the peoples that were in Canaan, and further, Ve'et Achiti, Ve'et Apirzi, Ve'et Rifaim, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Rephaim. Verse 20, Ve'et Emori, Ve'et Knani, Ve'et Girshi, Ve'et Yevusi, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Girshites, and the Jebusites. These are the 10 peoples that were here in the land of Canaan that Hashem drove away, and from the times of Yeshua ben Nun, after Moses have brought the Jewish people from the land of Egypt, we were about to enter, and this battle took 7 years for the Jewish people to enter the land of Israel. as it's going to be further explained in Shmot, chapter 33, verses 1 to 3, and then we will try to understand the deeper meaning of all this. As it's written, Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe, Lech ale mizeata, ve'am asher alita, mi'eretz Mitzrayim el haaretz asher nishbati, la'Avraham, li'Yitzchak u'li'Yaakov le'emor, li'zarecha itenena. In English, we would have, the Lord spoke to Moses, go ascend from here, from Egypt. You and the people you have brought up from the land of Egypt to the land that I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I will give it to your descendants, the land of Canaan. And Hashem goes further and states, V'shalachti lefanecha malach, v'girashti et ha'knaani, ha'emori, v'achiti, v'apirizi, achivi, v'ayevusi. And in English we would have, I will send an angel before you and I will drive out the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivitites, and the Jebusites. And Rashi explains, I will drive out the Canaanites. They are 6 nations listed here, although 7 nations were mentioned in Genesis 15, as we saw, and actually 3 additional peoples, Kadmoni, Kneni, Knizi, the Kedmonites, the Canaanites, and Knizites. And this is because the Gershites here got up and immigrated of their own accord. Now, I want to explain the difference here between the 10 nations mentioned before in the land of Canaan, and now the 6 nations mentioned, except for the 7 Gershites that immigrated on their own. Let us try to contemplate in a deeper level what's going on here. As I mentioned in my last video, what is the core of the war? The core of the war with Israel, and that was throughout all of the ages, was the war between what is the very definition of life. The Jewish people brought the definition of life as it is defined in the Torah, the wisdom of Hashem, the intellectual approach towards reality, in contrast to the general population that has an emotional approach to life with no connection to the wisdom of Hashem, with no intellect. Now, this is, the model is the land of Canaan, with the 10 nations, and we will see that the 3 further nations in a further video are at the east side of the Jordan River in Jordan, will be recovered in the future, and that means in our days. And as you all see that the American flotilla is coming, and most likely this is the time, Bezat Hashem, that we will establish the greater Israel and to conquer the 3 extra portions of land that are on the east side of the Jordan River in Jordan. But before we get there, the entrance of the people of Israel in the land of Israel, in the land of Canaan, that would become the land of Israel. And you all know that Israel means Sarakel, the prince of Hashem, or the minister of kindness. And kindness is not to create a world, is to reveal the purpose of why the world was created for. That's what we're here for. And to give the opportunity to each person to fulfill his potential within this world. It is for the benefit of all humanity. The support towards the Jewish people and Israel during these days is fundamental. As we enter and settle the land of Israel, the 6 nations that were mentioned in our last verse is referring to the 6 emotions of the heart: Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, kindness, discipline, flexibility, perseverance, splendor, and attachment. And the 7th, the Gilshite, they immigrated by themselves. That's referring to Malchut. Malchut is a sphere that has nothing of its own besides what it receives from above. The core of the war is the establishment of the nature of the human experience. Is it intellectual or is it emotional? Humanity as a whole was created to be an emotional experience of the reality, the texture of things, the perfume of things, the taste of things. But it was not stable, as the emotions are very egoistic and they want to take everything for themselves. This is what rules the wars throughout our planet from the beginning of times. And Hashem decided that it was not enough. And he had to give the Torah to the Jewish people to insert intellect within humanity. And the settlement of the Jewish people within the land of Israel is to establish that intellect needs to settle the emotions. Each one of us individually needs to study Torah in a proper way in order for his intellect to settle, control, master his emotions. This is the parallel to the Jewish people settling the entire land of Israel. And if all and everyone understands this, it is fundamental that each one individually sets time to study Torah properly. And as I mentioned previously, we will start next Sunday, live lectures. And there is a lot of study available for everyone in the Noahide Academy and all over the internet. It is of vital importance that everyone supports the initiative of the Jewish people settling in the land of Israel. So we settle completely and we have intellect that rules the experience of humanity, so we can create a stable bridge into the next chapter of our adventure called humanity. So I continue to express my thanks to all those that expressed their support and their prayers towards Israel. And remember that this is for the benefit of each and every single one of us individually. And Bezat Hashem, we will enter into the third temple very soon on Har HaBayit in Jerusalem to celebrate 1,000 years of redemption. Bezat Hashem.